Good morning, everybody. We have a great thing going on today. I'm Gabby, the Gabb. This is our weekly Zoom meeting that goes on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And we're going to do something a little different today as I introduce my guests. One you all know, a real pal of mine, but the other two are just pals, but real people. And we thought it would be fun to sort of find out what everybody thinks of. Okay, it's not after COVID, but it's a new period in this whatever. Denise Michelson of Colorado Restaurant Association. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Oh, it looks
good.
like you're home.
Yeah. I'm home. My son has no school today because, why go to school? So, yep, I'm home and he's in his room.
Oh, well, tell him to come out and say hi. We each brought in a pal. My pal is Fran Augenblick. Introduce yourself, Franny.
Hi, I'm Fran. I've known Gabby for a few years, but prior to that, we always purchased faithfully the Gabby Gourmet, and that became our Bible when we were going.
That Bible is long gone.
I know. But I enjoy cooking, and
She is a fabulous cook.
I go out probably less than a lot of people, just because COVID is always in the back of my mind.
Okay, well, you'll have some good pointers on what you look for then.
Right.
Mitch Lazar.
Mitch Lazar, nice to meet you guys. Yeah, no worries. I'm the CEO of Lux & Gravis, a digital marketing agency here in Denver, and I've known Denise a very long time. We both worked together and have remained friends throughout the years. My background, I grew up in the restaurant business, and also my wife is a chef, and so training kind of wise, we're kind of foodies, I would say. We spend a lot of time going out to eat and enjoying kind of experiencing new restaurants. We've lived abroad 12 years in Europe and 2 years in Asia, so kind of have an international experience and kind of think about food from an international perspective as well. So we like to try a lot of different things, and really looking forward to talking about kind of this period, this strange world we live in, but this new period that we're trying to enjoy dining out in these days.
Okay, Denise, you want to start the questioning?
Oh my gosh, where to begin?
Well, that's exactly.
That's
why I gave it to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for teaming me up. No, I think in general, I think we should start real easy and kind of broad, right? Restaurants have changed a lot in the last 18 months, so much. But restrictions are gone now, and restaurants are making their own choices about if people, their guests or their staff are wearing masks. What do Mitch and Fran, what do you guys look for? Do you want to be in a restaurant where there's mask wearing? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but what do you look for, and how do you choose where to go these days?
Okay, Fran first.
All right. I am pretty wed to my mask. And when I go into a restaurant, I am wondering if the staff has been vaccinated. And you look around and I generally go to places that I have gone before, where I know the staff and I trust the people and know that I'm going to get good service and that they're going to be careful about cleanliness and everything.
Do you think they should be posting signs? Like, would you feel better if people were saying, our staff is whatever % vaccinated or anything like that? There's some legal issues there, but
I would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so would I, by the way. Would you, Denise?
I'd like it. There's some legal issues there. So
I know.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if they could?
Yeah. Mitch, you.
I think it might lead to even more divisiveness unintentionally. I think it's great, but if you kind of only knew 98% were vaccinated, then you'd kind of be like, well, is the bartender the one?
Right.
That I'm
who's the holdout?
Yeah, so I say, I think it's great that, going in with the mask to the table, sitting down. Sometimes I question kind of the discrepancy of kind of walking in with the mask and then taking it off and eating, because it kind of it doesn't all make sense, but no rules these days with COVID make sense. We don't know so much about it. But I do prefer, and I think it's more comfortable when the staff is masked. They're working together, they're in the kitchen, they're coming to the table, they're talking to the guests, they're delivering the service, the food. And so I think while you miss a lot of the emotion of your server and the experience that sometimes you have at a restaurant, I still think we just don't know a lot about COVID. And so I think the safety and security of knowing that the team is masked is really helpful. Now, that doesn't always happen. We just spent a week in Nashville, and most of the people in the restaurants were not masked. But here, most of the teams that we walk into restaurants, they have the mask on. So it really just depends where you are. But I do prefer the team to have the mask if possible.
I think they're protecting themselves as well.
For sure. It's two-way street.
It's just an indication that that management team and the owner of that, business is really thinking about safety and being visual, like communicating that without having to say a word to their guests and their staff by having everybody who works there in masks.
Okay, in New York, and I guess now in LA, the restaurants have, unless you show proof of, which is a nightmare for the restaurants. But
Check
the proof of points,
proof of vaccine.
Yeah, that's,
I know. What do you guys think about that? Restaurants that requiring you to show proof of vaccine before you walk in?
I think on one hand, it's, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Fran, go.
I think it's cumbersome. I'm not always trusting that people are going to have the valid vaccine card. They can certainly say that they've been vaccinated and show something. So it's a step, but as you say, it's hard on the restaurants, I would think.
Oh, it's miserable.
I think it's unfair to put the restaurants in that position of policing. And while it sounds really like idealistic, it's not, I don't think, practical. And so it just creates a scenario where people get frustrated at the door. So I think there are other ways to deal with it potentially, but I don't think a requirement of a vaccine to eat at a restaurant is probably the right solution.
Okay, how does everybody feel about, I've had people comment to me that so many of the restaurants have cut their menus, raised prices. I mean, they have, but and there's like a fourth of the choices that you were used to. Just how do you feel about that?
And do you know why that's happening? Like, has that been clearly communicated?
I don't
Well,
think.
I know personally why it's happening, just because of the supply chain. That I think if you read the news, or if you're just kind of in along current events, you'll understand. I haven't been in a place that cut back that much. I mean, there are some things that they can't get and source, and I think it's completely understandable. If it's frustrating, I know it's been frustrating for us when we go to a restaurant hoping to eat something that we've already researched and read about and we really want to try, and they don't do it anymore. And that happened recently, and it wasn't just one thing or two things, it was like three things. The third thing we chose wasn't available. Wow. So, I think that's just the challenges of today. And I think it doesn't necessarily upset me about the restaurant. I think it's just, we have to live in this crazy place right now, and we have to be, understanding and empathetic to the situation.
But see, you have empathy, and I am hearing terrible stories of people that do not. They choose not to cook for themselves. They go out, but there is this unfortunate culture where there's this sense of entitlement that if you go to a restaurant, they're there to serve you. The customer is always right, and people are behaving badly towards restaurant workers. And it is not the server's fault or even the owner's fault that they can't get chicken wings or clams or whatever the thing may be. And of course, Fran and Mitch are empathetic, but I am saddened by how many people don't seem to.
And just going to the grocery store to buy our own food, you can see that the prices and the supplies are just not on the shelves.
I was at Target last weekend. There was
Yeah.
no vinegar.
There was
Zero
no
vinegar.
No
of
French
any-
fries.
No, no. Don't say-
Yeah.
But no, just random empty spots on shelves.
Okay.
that
And
don't know
at
why.
Costco, they're down to limiting like they did in COVID days
Mm,
because the shelves, I mean, everything's out in the water, so, or there's no truck
on a boat.
and they can't unload them and they can't get a driver. But I don't think the public, I don't know how we get the public to understand that too.
I think sometimes restaurants are posting that on the menu, or they're telling you right when you sit
I haven't
down. Just
seen that.
yeah, we've experienced that where I'm sorry, we don't have everything on the menu tonight. I think
Right.
it's about setting expectations. And if they do that at the front end of either while you're booking or on the confirmation of if you book with the restaurant to get the reservation, or if they tell you that, I just think it sets expectations and it has a better experience for you and for them.
I totally agree, but I haven't seen it. Fran,
Yeah.
you-
Whether they could post something on their website that would kind of alert people that when they look at the menu, that maybe there's going to be a problem.
Right.
Getting
And
that,
was one of the joys is looking at the menu ahead, right? And,
Right.
and like thinking about what you're going to have to eat that night. I was at a soft opening kind of preview at the Ponte, which is the new restaurant and cafe at the new Denver Art Museum.
Oh, yeah,
all right.
And they, I mean, it's literally a soft opening preview, and there was a Brussels sprout salad, and they didn't have Brussels sprouts. I mean, so it was on the opening menu, but they couldn't even
okay,
deliver
but-
it, which is fine. I'm not mad, but I just felt bad for them that,
and you feel bad, but some other person who's there for that is gonna say on that kind of a menu, what do you mean you don't have
right. I mean, but again, empathy, like if they didn't come, this is what's happening. Owners are telling us at the association, they place an order, the order is accepted, and then the food just literally doesn't arrive. The driver comes and they said, no, I'm sorry, we just don't have Brussels sprouts. I mean, there's literally nothing anybody can do about that at the moment. You could reprint your menu quickly, but again, if you start
Right.
online, that's not going to change that. And I think also the labor shortage plays in. I don't know how many teams have enough staff that they can make those quick daily, updates or, kind of send it out on social media or communicate that, change the website, from day to day or hour to hour. That's a trickier thing than most groups can handle, I think.
Now, are there any articles published about this? What's happening?
There's a lot of press right now about the supply chain. I've answered a number of media calls this week alone.
Okay, whoa, question. The
Yes.
things that you can send out about that, does it go, how does everybody or anybody get this?
Get those kind of stories? Well, so I can tell you 9 News reached out to the association, to be connected to operators that were struggling with supply chain so that they could do a story. So, it literally, you could Google supply chain restaurant Colorado and you'll find stories.
Okay, because they're on the, not only 9, every channel has a restaurant. Unfortunately, business is better. Business is great. Restaurants are gonna still have to close.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible
Right.
because it's a kind of a perfect storm. They all have more pandemic related debt than they've ever had. Operational costs like supply chain issues, cost of food, cost of supplies is through the roof. And then they're short on labor. So you've got more people coming in the door. So your existing staff is burnt out. And the cost of doing business is so high right now. And then you've got angry customers. It's an exhausting moment in time, I think, because they've gotten this far. If they're still open, they've gotten through, the 18 worst months ever for the restaurant industry. And now they're still facing this, Mount Everest of challenges.
The recovery will kill them.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
That's exactly.
I think,
Well said.
yeah, who knows? I know there's been some discussion of potentially a PPP3 coming for certain service industries. That might be needed. It's kind of, it's sad to see so many great restaurants close. I mean, I know that we've seen that as well. And I think it's just unfortunate because you have this almost perfect storm of negative challenges. And it's hard to run a restaurant, let alone, having the staff. We know certain restaurants that were planning to open haven't actually opened because they don't have the team. They can't find the people. So it's,
Right.
yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And I think that goes to kind of how you, as a customer, treat the team that is also there. I think.
Thank you. Please say that.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to obviously respect that, there are these challenges. Everybody's working as hard as they can. Sometimes the food takes longer to get out on the table. But I think it's important just to understand that everybody is working as a team to have that experience as best as possible. And they're doing it in unprecedented times. So yeah, it doesn't always happen. And sometimes that has to be explained to customers in the nicest way possible.
And then when you're tipping, don't base it on what you perceive as poor service. Then you have to think about just all the challenges that are facing
and
people.
sometimes, yeah, you can't blame it on the server. Sometimes it's the kitchen, and we know it's a team effort. So yeah, I do think when it comes to tipping, and I mentioned this to Denise recently, is I do like the restaurants that are going adding the 20 to 22%.
That's what I just wrote down to ask.
It's just taking away the thinking so everybody gets their fair share. And also, I think it provides a better experience. I know that some chefs here in town have really gone forward and kind of put that across all their restaurants. We like it. It doesn't always happen, but we like it when it does. And we feel that everybody's taken care of.
Okay, but I went to a restaurant, and no names, and there was the service charge written on there. And I happened to turn around to a friend who I was with, and I said, well, it says the service charge is included. And the waitress looked at me and she said, not really. That's there, but we expect tips.
Really?
Okay.
And-
Did you tip her well?
No, I tipped her. I did tip her. I was embarrassed into tipping her. She really did get me.
Well, I'm really curious where the service charge goes then. That
Well,
leads up to the operator.
and that's a huge
Is the
problem.
operator not divvying it up properly? Or is that a server who isn't happy about that, pay model and shouldn't have really said that? There's I have
I agree.
questions about that.
No, me too. But
I also recently learned, so if there is a service charge, 20, 22%, that typically, and it's tip pooled, that has to go to front and back of house, both, the kitchen and the servers. When there's an additional line, like you might have seen, Gabby, that line only goes to front of house. And I think that needs to be more clearly
to front of house or back of house?
front of house.
Okay.
So the pool goes to everybody, but if you add on more, that goes to front of house only. And in my
Yes.
mind, coming from a cooking background, I might think, oh, I'm going to add on more and then everyone will get more, but that's not true. That only goes
And
to front
that
of
is
house.
what she,
Yeah.
But that's what she wanted, right?
Because she said that they really didn't get it. Well, obviously. And then there's some lines that say for the kitchen.
Yeah, very
Right.
specific.
It's very
Which
confusing. I think almost it needs a standard. I think it's
Okay, there you go.
a lot to ask a customer to understand all the complexities of that. There's been over the last 2-3 years, even before COVID, about kind of this 20%, everybody shares it. I think it's a lot to figure out, add lots of different lines. I think it gets very, very confusing, very, very fast. I like it when restaurants, if I take, for example, I know the Mountain Standard up in Vail has done this for a while, where they have on the dessert menu a tip for the kitchen staff, and you give them the tip and they ring the bell in the kitchen, and you know that they're actually benefiting from that. I think it's buy them a round of beer or whatever it is on the menu.
There's a couple here that are doing that.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit more clear to us, but yeah, we don't mind giving, a really nice, gratuity, but at the same time, who gets what? And I shouldn't have to figure that out as a customer. It's like, I know what's reasonable and what's fair and what's generous. And so I just want to make sure everybody is sharing it. And I like it when it's pooled better and they figure out on the back end the way it's done.
Yep. But then that puts a lot of responsibility on the owner. If you have a bad actor owner who's not divvying up the money properly, that's where it can get tricky. But in the best possible world, I think it's a good model too.
It's sort of what Danny tried to do in New York, Danny Meyer, when it looked a little more expensive, but you didn't tip. It was just
Right.
all there.
Everything was included.
And
No, and he had to let go of that model in the
I know.
pandemic.
No, I
It's
know.
the all-inclusive. It's the all, like,
You're,
just come enjoy the experience. It's nothing more than what's the price on the menu. I
And-
love
But
that.
do you remember that's what
I
ride
did
sharing
too,
used to be?
Mitch. It was great.
Do you remember ride shares used to be like that? And there was this kind of freedom of knowing like whatever it was, you didn't have to tip, you didn't have to get out money, you didn't have to worry about it. And now you do a ride share and the pop-up comes and they want you to tip on top. And I do it because I know those drivers need it. But I like an all-inclusive. I don't want to have to think
I do
about it.
too.
Right.
Oh my God.
Rideshare was different because actually there was no requirement for a tip, and there was not on some of them, there wasn't even an ability to give the tip to the driver.
In the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. And so until they started that, because Uber was taking a lot of it, so it was hard to give the driver.
Right. I like that they're giving the drivers more, but I'm just saying if they could figure out a way to make it all inclusive, but also compensate their workers.
Okay, and my experience when in New York, Danny Myers had the all-inclusive, we actually tried to tip the waiter more because he was so great, and they wouldn't take it.
Mm.
So they wouldn't touch it. So
That's the way it should work.
it was fabulous. I mean, he had the right idea. I just didn't have the right world.
Right.
And that,
Right.
and they also had Corona. Afterwards came COVID.
Right. Exactly.
Well, is there anything else that, I mean, I love this conversation, but anything
There is one thing I would
I want to talk.
say kind of frustrates me
Okay,
these
that's
days.
what I want to know.
Yeah. So we like to try a lot of new places, and we go back to our favorites, but we like to try new ones. And what we've noticed post-COVID is there's a lot that are using reservation services, and they want to, require you to pay $25 per person. We don't mind reserving. We don't mind paying that, but we also want to be able to, within 24 hours, which is fair, to say, hey, we had a change. Somebody has COVID, somebody got sick, whatever that happens. And be able to cancel within time. And if obviously it's not 24 hours, we get it, like there's a cost. But what we're seeing a lot of restaurants do right now is require that charge without the ability to cancel, period. And I think that for us is the biggest, and we won't go. We've actually
I agree.
chosen to not go to restaurants in Denver because of that policy.
Okay, my friend went to a restaurant with that policy. Not you, Fran, another friend. And she walked in and she said, am I getting it? It was $25 a person on this reservation, not just $25. And when she got the bill, she said, well, aren't you taking that off? And they said, oh no, we'll have to send it to you and we'll get to it in a week or two. Now, the way I knew it is they took it. Yeah. And off the air, I'll be happy to tell you where it happened. I mean, she was appalled that
They can't hold your money.
Well, first of all, they used to not hold it until you did it. They left your credit card. And then if you were a no-show, they might put it on.
And it's fair because people are not showing for reservations. So
I don't have a problem until she told me.
But you need to be able to cancel, just like Mitch, you were saying a doctor's appointment, right? If you make a chiropractic appointment and you can cancel within 24 hours of the appointment, that's fair.
Really
then they can open up that table.
If you're really sick, you can cancel that day. Come on.
Well, right, but like
it's Denver, Colorado.
I get the rules, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
And applying it right away on the ticket, is usually what they say is they'll take your credit card payment right away. They charge it. We've had the experience. And then usually they apply it as a credit on the bill.
That's what she thought was going to happen.
Yeah. But we've only done that. And we've only booked restaurants that allow us to do that, but cancel within 24 hours. So if they don't allow you to do that, we won't go there. And there are some new ones, not new ones probably they're new to us perhaps, that we have said, sorry, we're not going to, give them our business because we just don't want to be locked in.
What if it was like an airline, Mitch? You know how, you buy a plane ticket and you know that if you didn't buy the insurance, something happens, at least you'll have a credit on that airline. Would you go if they give you a credit?
I going to dinner, it doesn't compare. Fran,
only
don't
in, like-
take a trip.
I think only in extenuating circumstances, like if somebody is really, really sick, they have to cancel on the same day. I don't mind taking the penalty and giving the restaurant the money if I had to cancel on the same day. I don't think about a credit. It shouldn't work with credits if I'm canceling, with before 24 hours, right?
Yep.
Like if
No,
I'm
I
canceling
agree.
2 days before.
Yeah, agreed, because then they can seat that table, Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, should we end on something positive? Should everyone just
Sure.
say one great place that they've enjoyed recently or something?
Oh, good idea.
Pollyanna question.
Fran,
Well, we have always gone to 240 Union, and we went back to 240 Union, and that was one place that doesn't seem to have changed as far as the quality of the food. I thought the prices were very reasonable, and the help, as always, was wonderful. So we really had a good experience there.
their service is great, and actually, their prices are even reasonable.
Right.
And there's no charge to make a
But
reservation.
no breadsticks. They couldn't find breadsticks.
They can't find someone to make them is the
Right,
problem.
right.
Somebody want a job?
A few
I
jobs.
think for us, we
Huh?
love Cativella. We've been there probably 3 or 4 times over the last couple of months. It just is our go-to.
Say again the name.
Cativella in Central Park. So is that where it is, Denise?
No,
Central
that
Park?
is
Yeah, that's
Elise
what I thought.
Wiggins' place, Gabby.
Yes.
Oh, Catavella. Oh, gotcha.
Catavella.
I love that she walks around. She just really treats you really.
Oh,
We
no.
lost him.
Oh,
I hope he
Right in the
comes
middle.
back because I have something to answer to that. But in the meantime, because I have something funny I can tell him about Catavella. Do you want to
What-
share, Denise?
What about you? No, you go.
No, you go. Here he comes.
All right. Well, it was funny. I wanted Mitch to hear, but Mitch, I was able
He's
to.
coming right now.
Oh, here he comes. Okay. We'll just wait 1 second.
Okay, because I have something to answer about somebody.
I lost you there.
We
but,
got
Lost
you back.
Yeah.
I did. So I was just going to say that I really
Wait, we
love
can't see you though. Can you put on your
Oh.
video?
See.
Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
There.
Hi.
I was just going to say I really love how they treat you there, and the food is always great.
Okay, and FYI, just so you know, just interesting restaurant talk. Their head chef Zuri, the Latino little man who's always out in front, he is now the head chef at Shanahan's.
Oh wow.
And good for him. you
It's
know.
great. It's his first executive chef position, so it's really exciting.
And I was out for it. It's fabulous. Okay, Denise, I'm putting it on you.
Well, Mitch, I'm glad you're back because I was going to say, we had a nice double date at Coperta. And it also makes me think of the staffing. We had the owner at the host stand. We
It was
had
amazing.
JP, one of the co-owners behind the bar, Aileen, the other the whole family was there, running tables, running food in the kitchen, doing the whole thing. But it was lovely and the food was beautiful and the service was great. And, I love that place.
Well, it seems like we're going Italian. I've always said in my life, my best meal was the last meal I ate. Which is,
So where were you yesterday?
no, I was at Benzina yesterday and it was good.
Italian.
But that isn't the one I was going to say. But we went to the Van Gogh exhibit and went over to Gaetano's, which is right next to it. Really
Italian.
close. And I'm talking about not fancy Italian, no fancy people that all like Riley or Elise or any of the, even Matt Franklin, but just the host, the owners there, they're running around. It's old fashioned fun, huge portions of really good food. And
And
so
that place
it
has been
was,
around forever.
70
and I
years or
love
so.
supporting those.
it's almost as old as me. That's why I like.
Ah.
I
And
know.
they improve
What's
with
that,
age.
21 years old?
Yes, thank you. On this ear. I've been around a long time. They all know it. I can't lie anymore, Mitch. You may not know me, but I've been around too long to lie. But in the meantime, I just think it was really fun. And I know that all our viewers will have a good time. And I'd love to do this again sometime. We can have a whole new fun day.
Coffee class.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. Please like and share the Gabb on YouTube and enjoy. And we will see you next week. Thank you all. Love you all. Mitch, you too. New love. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.